Good morning, everybody. It is Michelle Alcorn and my mom, Helen,
Hi, everyone.
here in very cool New Brunswick, here in Atlantic Canada Cooks this morning. At one point, I looked and it was minus 19. I thought, wow. And then I looked again and it went to minus 20. So it's a little cool here, but the sun is shining. And we're here to celebrate this week. It's February 2nd, and we're just into the Lunar New Year. Many people will call it the Chinese New Year, and it's celebrated by many countries in that region in the world. And I'm super excited. We've got Donna Kubik, who's zooming in from Newfoundland. Donna has cooked with us for over the last 4.5 years as a guest, many times. And we're excited to have Donna join because Donna's lived in those regions in the world, and she's going to tell a little bit about living over there and teaching English when she was there, and some funny things about the food culture. But more than anything, it's probably understanding how authentic it is and what's important. The other thing that's great is many of the dishes are quite easy to make, and it's about natural ingredients.
Exactly.
Mom, you and I have eaten a lot of Vietnamese food.
Yes.
Over the last few years. Hi to Jacqueline and our friends in Vietnam. And it's just quite simple. So hopefully today we're going to show you a noodle bowl. Noodles mean longevity. We're going to talk about citrus and how important citrus is. It's the gift that keeps giving, and it's one gift that during this time frame is very popular. And I know my mother's very curious. I'm going to cut open the honey pomelo and look at the size of this, say compare it to a regular orange, and then Mom, I'll get you to hold up the clementine. So Mother Nature does a wonderful job of giving us different size citrus to look at. And it's really wonderful in your diet. So great healthy eating. We're going to make some wontons or dumplings, which is one of our favorite thing to do. We used to say we're having a wonton-a-thon when you're sitting making dumpling after dumpling. So that's going to be exciting for us to do. And we are going to be making an Oriental seasoned oven fried rice that my mother's been making for a long time. But we're going to go over to Donna's kitchen and say good morning to her. She's going to tell us what she's cooking, and I think she's going to get a little bit started on her recipes. So Donna, I'm just going to get you moved over, and we're excited. Go for it, Donna. Tell us what's cooking in your kitchen. And I know people are curious as to where you are in the really northern part of Newfoundland or Labrador. So please, what's cooking in your kitchen?
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen as well. I'm so happy that Michelle asked me to join on this episode, particularly because it has to do with Chinese New Year and the food that's really special to that culture. So I did spend 4 years not in China, but in Taiwan, which is right next to um, China and shares the same food culture, or a lot of similarities to it. So today, what I'm going to prepare is some sweet and sour pork. And Michelle's going to speak to this later, but pork is a food that's considered to be related to prosperity and good luck. And it's something that's eaten frequently in the diet of Asian people in that region, which is great. I myself actually love pork. It's probably my favorite of the meats. So it's a really simple recipe that I'm going to pull together this morning. And I'm actually just going to just move my camera down a little bit right now so you can kind of have a look at what we're working with. So these are the main elements that we're going to use in our pork dish. So what we have here is some sugar, some soy sauce, some salt, an onion, and an egg. Normally, we would use a green onion in this dish, but Michelle has mentioned before, I'm in a really remote area. I'm in Labrador, really far north, pretty close to the Quebec border. I think we're really like maybe 130 kilometers away from the Quebec border. So we have, being in a remote location, sometimes there's issues with getting all of the great stuff you can find in an urban supermarket. So today we're just going to use white onion in our recipe. And what we're going to do is simply start with 1 egg. So we're going to put that in there. We're going to use a teaspoon, a teaspoon of salt. We're going to use a half a teaspoon of sugar. We're going to use about a tablespoon of soy sauce. And this chopped onion that we have too, we're going to put that in with our marinade just to impart some of that great flavor. And now what we would do with this, we're going to add approximately 1 pound of cubed or, cut up pork, just in little pieces about this big, because once we add that cornstarch to them and fry them, they do increase quite a lot in size. So we're simply going to add some meat. So a pound would be about half of this bowl full. And we're just going to mix it up. And I always like to use chopsticks a lot in the kitchen, especially when I'm cooking Asian food. They're a really great tool for mixing, for picking things up, all of those kinds of things, and just kind of makes the experience feel better. So what we would do with this now, the meat, after we've got those ingredients added to it, we would put this in the fridge for about 1 hour. But knowing that we don't have the luxury of a lot of time with these episodes, I have prepared some in advance. So I have a bowl of meat here. Oh, where'd we go? So I kind of disappeared there for a moment. Sorry. Being in a remote location, sometimes the internet is a little bit iffy. So once we have that meat marinated, what we're going to do is we're simply going to add it to some cornstarch and just kind of dredge it in here. So as I said, this is a really simple, lovely, flavorful dish.
And it looks like it's fast and easy, Donna.
It really is. I mean, you can prepare this, the marinating takes a little while, but the actual preparation of the marinade and getting the meat together and putting the whole thing, I would say, is less time than you would take to order from a Chinese takeout restaurant. So it's kind of one of those things that's really good to know how to do. And then we're just simply going to take these, and if you can see my wok in the background here.
Yeah. There we go.
So we're just simply going to take this and we're just going to drop it in the hot oil. So I've got about 2 cups of oil sitting in my wok right now. We've got it on a medium-high heat because what we want to do is get these cooking and just make them nice and brown and crunchy. So simply drop them in there, deep fry them, leave them go. So I'm going to pop back and just show you in between time what these look like once they get cooking a little bit. And Michelle, if you want to take it back to your kitchen, feel free, and I'll just keep working on this.
Donna, it looks so good, and I also want to compliment you on your use of chopsticks. I, on the other hand, cannot navigate chopsticks the way that you did, but maybe that time living overseas in Taiwan taught you a lot of extra, right? A lot of extra tricks on that. So we're going to be getting going with a few of our recipes. I'm just holding these for aesthetics, right, Mom? Just because I can. Albeit they're good for stirring stuff, so we'll get that figured out. It takes practice, so Michelle needs to practice. So we're going to get rice. Is a really, really important part in the cultures in that part of the world. And we're going to be using the rice with a little bit of a spin that we've done over the years. So our ingredients for this particular recipe actually are quite easy. So I have some nice white long grain rice that's here. It's already been soaked a little bit. What I'm going to do is, normally you could use some olive oil, and I've got a little bit of sesame oil. And what I did, Donna, like you, sometimes I don't always have all my ingredients either, but I didn't have sesame oil. So last night I took some olive oil and I roasted some sesame seeds. And what I did is overnight I infused a bit of that sesame into the oil so that I could really get that sesame oil. So you're going to see here, nice and smooth mixture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put about a quarter of a cup of that in the bottom of the pot. And this is what's really great about this. And as I said, this is the white rice. And it's a little damp because we soaked the rice in some water, rinsed it, and now it's going to go in. Thanks, Mom. This is sort of one of those, what am I cooking? And I said, well, Mom, you made this recipe so long ago. So the other thing that I've got here, and I've got a cup of rice, and I'm going to put 2 cups, and there's 4 in here. There we go. And this is a chicken broth. So I used a chicken bouillon cube. So, and I'm going to need these 2 cups for another recipe. So I'm going to set this behind us. The other thing that we're going to put into this recipe is I'm going to put about a quarter of a cup of diced cilantro. That's probably a little bit different, Mom, than in your traditional recipe, but we're going to add that cilantro in there. The other thing that we're going to add in here is I got some green onions cut up right here. So I've got about a half a cup of green, like about 3 green onions that I cut up evenly. So the green onions are going to go in there. The other thing that we have is we've got some mushrooms here. And I'm just going to, I'm saying dice, slice those mushrooms into slices. And the fresh mushrooms can go in just as is. I remember maybe, Mom, sometimes you've used canned mushrooms if you didn't have fresh.
That's right.
So, and they add a beautiful earthiness to this particular recipe. And again, it's great flavor, and mushrooms are super healthy. And I love mushrooms. So.
Everybody liked it.
And everybody did, even some of our non-mushroom lovers.
Oh yeah, you tasted it, but it didn't. It was very mild.
Right? We're going to use mushrooms in a couple of different ingredients today. I'm just going to, let's move the olive oil that we're not using out. We're going to show that pot. And remember, this is going to go into the oven and bake. So it's really wonderful when we can just put all of these ingredients into this one pot and stir it up. But we need some seasoning in here. And one of the things I'm going to use, and this is an onion paste. So it's just diced onions that you can buy at the store. And they're a fresh onion in a paste. And I'm going to put about a tablespoon of that, which is just going to add a little bit more of that umami, oniony flavor that's really nice that's in it. And we've got some wonderful soy sauce here. And I'm putting about half a cup of soy sauce is going to go into this for the seasoning. But then the other thing that we're going to be putting in here, I wish you could smell this, is a little bit of fresh ginger. Now this is a dehydrated ginger, so we don't need a lot. It's just like you're using super fresh ginger paste. And then I am going to put just a tiny bit of rice wine vinegar in this. And when I say a tiny bit, a tablespoon. The acid from that vinegar does help in the cooking process. And I'm just looking for my garlic powder. Oh, right beside me. So we're going to take and we're going to put just about a tablespoon of garlic powder. Now I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. I'm not putting any salt in with this because I used a bouillon cube or a stock cube and it has sodium in it. So what I don't want to do is put extra sodium, and of course the soy sauce has a bit of sodium in it. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to mix this up. And we're going to get this in, we're going to put a tight lid on the top of it. That already looks good. I'm going to get the lid. This is a very heavy Dutch oven that we've used in the past. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this right into the oven. Thank you, Mom. Let's definitely, that's going in. And I'm just checking our baking. And we've got that at 375. And that's going to bake for about 45 minutes. So just at the end of the show, we're going to show you where it's at. It may need a little bit longer, but the nice thing about that particular recipe, you can set it, put it into the oven, and then that's going to be there ready, and you don't have to stand and fry the rice and do things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I actually love standing and frying rice. I see Donna's doing a lot of frying over in her kitchen. I'm just wondering, Donna, do you want to take a peek over to your kitchen and show us what you've just got going on for a minute?
Sure. So what we've got now is our meat cubes are in our oil, and they're just frying up really, really nicely there. And as you can see, I've got a plate beside my pan, a little hack that I like to use, and most people actually probably are already aware of this, but sometimes when we fry things in oil, it's a little bit greasy, so I kind of like to put paper towel down on a plate just to absorb some of that excess oil before I move on to the next step of saucing or something like that as well.
Thanks for sharing that, Donna. I'm going to go back over and we're going to get some wontons going. I love that Donna is using some oil and some frying with oil, because you know what? It's a big deal. There's a lot of different unique fried foods in many of our cultures, and the key is getting hot oil when you start, getting it out of the oil so that you're actually cooking the outside of the food and not dredging it in the oil. So we're going to get started on the fillings that are going to go in our dumplings or our wontons. And here in this bowl, I have some ground chicken. It's you often see them used with a ground pork, a ground beef, could be ground turkey. Today we're choosing to use chicken. Now, I actually fell in love with this recipe many, many years ago. And I can even think of some of my friends' kids that be like, Aunt Michelle, are we going to do a wonton-a-thon? And that just means we're going to make a lot of these dumplings because everybody really enjoyed eating them. So Mom and I are going to do up a few this morning, and then the rest we're going to be able to have for supper afterwards. So we have our ground chicken. What I really love about this recipe is it's really simple ingredients in the inside. So I'm going to use a little bit of fresh pepper, and I really like having, I often say, treat yourself and get a pepper grinder, but I'm probably using there about a half a teaspoon of pepper. And the other seasoning I'm going to put in here, and I'm looking because I know I have some chopped garlic. Michelle just can't find her chopped garlic. Here we go. Well, there's my chopped. I found Michelle's doing her prep ahead of time. So we have some fresh ginger here. Smells amazing. And I have chopped some of that fresh ginger up and diced it up quite small. So we're going to put, probably in this amount, I'm putting about a half a teaspoon of that fresh ginger because it is strong. It has quite a punch on it. So I'm just going to move my bowl up here. So we're going to cut up some of these green onions that are going to go into the bowl. And I do have one egg I'm going to put right into our bowl now. And I just made sure that I beat the egg up or mix the egg up really well. I'm going to leave my fork there. Mom, if I can hand you that. And that will clear a few things off of our board. And what I'm going to do in this amount is I'm going to take about 3 green onions, and these with the green onions, I just sort of line them up because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them in half here. And then I'm going to cut,
You want to get rid of this?
no,
Oh.
I'm going to cut them in half. And then I'm going to cut across sideways so we create a nice small dice because we want nice small pieces of onion. Because remember, these are going to be going inside the dumpling wrapper. And we really don't want the onion itself to be larger than the ground meat that's going in. So we want to get a nice small dice on that onion. Now I have that jar of the onion paste. It certainly is an alternative, but honestly, the green onion, this is the authentic. I don't think a lot substitutes the flavor for this particular onion because it's very mild and it has a nice freshness about it. So we want to make sure that we're staying authentic to the recipe and using the green onion when you can. Or chives. You can, if you can't get the full green onion, sometimes you can get chives. And again, they have that really nice mild flavor. So I'm going to chop the rest of this one up so we have it all for our recipe. As you can see, they have a nice small dice on them. And we're going to slide this right into the bowl. And you see the onions mixed with the chicken, the egg. And then the other ingredient I like to put in mine is these are, and it's only 3 of those white mushrooms, but I diced them up. So there's probably the equivalent of about 3/4 of a cup of those mushrooms. And this is all that's going to go inside of our filling. So we're going to stir this up. I am going to put a little bit of salt. The salt also helps to bring out the flavor of the fresh vegetables. So we've got those beautiful mushrooms. We've got that fresh ginger. And then the only other thing that we want to put in there is a little bit of fresh garlic. Love it when I prepare my ingredients and then lose a couple of them. I'm sure they'll turn up here. But we're going to set this over to the side. And then I'm just going to take 2 cloves of garlic. And I'm going to run a dice through them. When in this particular recipe, it's really important that you use a very small dice. Or if you have a garlic paste. I often have a jar, just like this jar, of garlic paste. Wonderful for recipes like this because nobody wants a giant piece of garlic to bite into. Well, maybe me sometimes. I often say, I think a lot of my health comes from all the ingredients that I eat. And there's a lot of garlic and vinegar and turmeric and ginger. So stay healthy by eating these ingredients. So there's our garlic. I'll show you there. So here it is here on the side of the knife. And that is the final ingredient. So we're going to mix all of those up. I think I had said that dash of salt, Mom. Excellent. So we're going to get our wonton wrappers out. And I am going to tell you, I bought the wonton wrappers. I did not make, we joke, I'm not a baker. But in a lot of the cultures today and all through this season, people be making noodles, Donna, right? And maybe Donna will speak a little bit to that when we go over. Noodles signify longevity. And, and it's a big deal getting the noodles right. I've got a quick noodle dish that we're going to do up here today. But there's our filling. I think it smells amazing already just with the simple ingredients that are in it. So, Mom, I am going to hand you that.
Okay.
She tried to take it out of the way earlier. And I'm going to give you this one and get you to put a little bit of water in it, if you wouldn't mind. So, I want to make sure that my wrappers were just ready to go. And this is a brand I've bought many times before. And what's really great about the wrapper is someone's already floured them and got them ready for me. But I'm going to show you, they're just like little papers. Look at that. And in between each one of these little layers is a tiny bit of flour. So it makes it so they don't stick at all. So they're wonderful and ready to roll. So what we do here, because I'm going to get this started and then we're going to go over and check out Donna's recipe and have her build that. But hopefully you see what I'm doing is I take a little bit of water and I go around the edge of the wrapper with the finger, and then I am going to put a little bit of filling in the center of it. And I'll hold that up so everybody gets to see. Now, how you roll your dumpling can be up to you in any different way that you want. I often take, and I pinch it in the middle, and then what I am doing on the side is I'm pinching it all the way up, and then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, you want your dumplings to sit for just a few minutes, so it's great, gives you time to make them. And there, we've got one of our dumplings here. They'll get in different shapes. If we want to really put them into a wonton, we're going to fold these two ends over and let them meet. But as usual, I stuffed mine with a lot of meat. My mother's smiling. So we're going to sit here and we're going to make a few wontons and we're going to get some water on, because when Mom and I cook them, I'm going to put them in with a little bit of broth, and then I'm going to put them in the frying pan second and have a little bit of a crispy fried dumpling. These are the exact dumplings that I would use if I was making a wonton soup, and then you just leave it and cook it in the soup. So I hope you enjoy a new wonton in your world. So Donna, I think it looks like to me you're ready to pull that recipe together. She's just gonna unmute there.
I am. I'm trying to be all tech savvy and use my mouse today instead of like messing with my mouse pad, but I'm, easily confused. So.
And how's that? Because I don't know about you, I do the same thing, but sometimes it's easy to reach out, right?
So I wanted to tell you something too, because you know that I'm in a remote area. So I do not have access to things like wonton wrappers. But I do have access to online shopping. So I bought this, I purchased this little device, and it actually is, you can make your own, and wonton wrappers are not really complicated to make, but as with a lot of pastry or dough, they're just a little time consuming. So I have lots of time on my days off to do things. Anyway, this is quite lovely. So you basically make your dough and you put a piece of it in here, and it presses it into a disc, like a round disc. And then on this side of it, you can put your dumpling and you can fill your dumpling and then just simply fold this over to seal it up. So it's really quite the neat little contraption.
I think I want one.
All right, so we're gonna get on the move with our sauce, and I'm just gonna put you down to my work area again here so you can see I've got my pan. Our meat is really nicely done. It's all crisped up, it's golden. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna prepare that sauce to put on top of our pork to make it sweet and sour. And this is a really basic sweet and sour recipe that I'm going to use. So sorry about this, guys. So basically what we're doing, we're going to be using some brown sugar. We're going to be using some water. We're going to be using some vinegar.
I need to put that back pot on to boil on the water.
There's nothing in it.
I'm sorry, can you hear me okay? Hello? Oh, just a minute.
Oh, Donna, did we lose ya? I think Donna muted herself.
No, I didn't mute myself. I think my internet cut out, actually.
Oh.
So
That can happen.
As you know, that is something that happens here. So I'm just gathering my ingredients to make my sauce.
Well, Donna, I just want to also say hi to our YouTube and our Zoom audience. We've got a lot of extra guests on there from many countries around the world, and it's really just great to see everybody coming in and checking it out. Next week's Valentine's Day, so we're gonna be cooking with. We've got Asme, who's from Egypt, who lives here in Moncton, and she's observing today, but she's gonna be cooking next week and sharing a little Egyptian love.
Really?
So just say it's just great to see everybody.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead with making our sauce. So the first ingredient that we're going to put in is some brown sugar. So this recipe calls for 2.5 cups of packed brown sugar. And what I wanted to do was demonstrate to everybody what a packed cup of brown sugar is in case you don't know. So what we do is we fill this with brown sugar. And brown sugar is kind of loosey-goosey and feels nice and fluffy if it's good and fresh. And what you want to do is you want to take it, put it in your cup, and you want to really press it down so it's packed in. And then when you empty it, it's going to look like this. This is how we know you've packed your brown sugar well. So we're starting with 2.5 cups of this, and then we're simply going to put in 1.25 cups of water to this. And once we've got that in, to give it a little bit of zing, we're going to put in 2/3 of a cup of vinegar. So I've got my 1/3 of a cup measure here. And as I said, today I'm using apple cider just to give it a little bit of an extra kick. And I like apple cider. So we've got our 2/3 of cup here. And we're going to put some soy sauce in here as well. So this calls for 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. So we've got our tablespoon here. And all of these are going to give us a different element of flavor. And this is a really, really forgiving base recipe. You can add ginger to this. You can add garlic to this. You can add more soy sauce to it. You can kind of jazz it up the way that you want to. And I was actually having a discussion with Michelle earlier before we started filming. So she mentioned that I lived in Taiwan for a while.
You're not gonna do your orange or your big, you're not gonna cut that?
And with that, the flavors are a little bit different there. So regionally, or like in Taiwan, it is authentic, Chinese cuisine, and they use a few different spices and things like that in their cooking. So what you're getting today is a very Canadian version of Chinese food. And this is what you'll see on restaurants here sometimes. They'll say Canadian Chinese food. Because regionally, even when I lived in South Korea, Chinese food in South Korea is a lot different than Chinese food in Taiwan was. So I think, and in Canada too. So it's kind of one of those things where we adjust things just to make sure that, it pleases the palate of the local population, I suppose. So I've got that now on my burner. And we're just gonna leave this here, and we're gonna wait until it boils. So we're just gonna wait until it comes to not a really big boil, but just like a simmer. So a simmer is when you get nice little bubbles. And then after that, we're gonna add a thickening agent to it, which today is cornstarch. And really that's all that there is to it. Once it's thickened, we're gonna sauce our fried pork with it, and then we're good to go. Our lovely, lovely sweet and sour pork is gonna be ready for us to eat and enjoy.
Donna, I'm here. Wow. I miss your cooking, Donna. I have had the privilege of cooking with Donna, eating with Donna, and I must say she is just an incredible cook. You've taught me a lot about these types of cuisine, though, which is really nice because living there, as you said, you learn a lot more about how to build those flavors and sort of how people eat and how people cook, which I love to learn. So that being said, I've got 6 of our dumplings here ready, and we're just getting some water boiled in behind us. And what Mom's gonna do is we're gonna get those dumplings, and we're gonna show you how quickly they're gonna go into water. And it's a water that has a little bit of a chicken bouillon cube in it. And there's a few things we can have these just as is coming out, or as I said, if we want, we could flash them into a frying pan and crisp them up. But we're just going to show you sort of how these ones are. 1, 2, don't. She's going to watch that boil. And the dumplings sort of sit down into the bottom. And there we go. And I make sure we keep it at a rolling boil. So you see, there they are, facial, sitting in the pot. We're going to keep that at a boil. Mom's going to keep an eye on them. And once they start floating, they're pretty much ready. And they're probably going to take about 3 minutes. So they don't take long to cook. So while those are getting ready, we're going to talk a little bit about our egg roll in a bowl. And we're going to finish this day with a noodle bowl that might have a couple of dumplings in it. So when we're doing a thing called egg roll in a bowl, behind me, I am giving Mom, again, I would say a bit of what I call my homemade sesame oil. So we took some beautiful sesame seeds. I roasted them in a frying pan, and then I've infused them into some olive oil. So we're putting in the bottom of that pan about 1/4 cup of that oil. And what I'm going to add now are sort of some of the ingredients that we would put in what we call more of our North American egg roll. But what I love about it is it's good, healthy ingredients, and the seasoning and the flavor is going to be very much Asian. So we've got some thinly sliced onion, and basically the way I've sliced everything was with intent. So these are nicely thinly sliced. Here I've got some nice bean sprouts. I love bean sprouts. Very delicious, healthy, but they stay a little crunchy when you're cooking them, which gives you that really great taste or flavor in your mouth. And then also in here, so we see this, I've got some of this wonderful cabbage. And this is cabbage that we've just cut up into thin strips. And then in here, we've shredded a little extra carrot. So as you see, we've got some of these wonderful ingredients ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those onions and I'm going to put them into this bowl, and I'm going to give all of these ingredients over to Mom. And I bet you the oil smells really good in that pan.
It does smell delicious.
Because it's got the sesame seeds in it. And the other thing I'm going to do, and this is about 1/4 cup of cilantro that's going to go in. So what's really fun is, hopefully you're going to see, is this bowl is pretty much full. And we're just going to test. Perfect, Mom. You want to just get a pan to put them in? No, here. Wait. So I just need to give Mom a hand. She's good. She's really, we'll get Mom to get a better spoon. Pull those out with. Here we go. Keep that juice so that needs to reboil.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, this oil is perfect.
Look at these. They look amazing. The dumplings are perfect. And for me, with the fresh dumplings, when they're already just perfect like this, the only thing I want to do is just mix a little bit of a sauce that you can dip them in. And it's actually quite simple. If I could find my soy sauce. So there we go. We're going to put some soy sauce. And this is what I like about this, is it's got a little bit of a sweet and a little bit of the sour in it as well. So the soy sauce. And then I'm going to use a little maple syrup. And there's just a little bit. Usually the recipe would just call for some sugar that would go into it. So we've got a soy sauce. And then I'm going to use a little bit of that fresh ginger that we had earlier is going to go in. And you really only need a tiny bit, because ginger has a lot of strength. Let's just say that. And then I also have some toasted sesame seeds here. I love the smell of toasted sesame seeds. And I'm just gonna put those in. And that's what we're gonna be using as a really nice dip. That we're gonna dip those dumplings in. That smells good. So simple. So there's one of those beautiful dumplings. And they only took, what, Mom?
3 minutes.
About 3 minutes to cook. And see, when you dip it in the sauce, the toasted sesame seeds are stuck to it. Seriously. Every time I make them, I surprise myself. Look at the inside of that. The chicken is cooked perfect. And I hope you can remember that it's fresh, super fresh flavors. I would definitely have a much smaller bowl and a giant bowl of those wonderful dumplings. I'm sure my mother will enjoy one. Get a few more dumplings into your life because they're absolutely amazing. Oh. I was wondering why we need to, so the sesame oil was very much warmed up, and now into the hot pan, we're gonna stir in all of those ingredients. And the other thing I want to emphasize, look at the colors. Oh, it smells great. I'm gonna get this right back onto the pan though, because we don't want to lose the heat for that to cook properly. And you'll see how quickly this cooks down. So Mom, I'm gonna give Mom a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. And the other thing that we're gonna add to that is I still have, and there's about a half a teaspoon, almost dropped that spoon, of that beautiful fresh ginger. So we're gonna add that in with our egg roll mixture. There is no meat gonna be going into this mixture. So it really is just about those fresh ingredients. And I would put a few diced onions, but again, Michelle's gonna use her cheater stuff today. And put about a tablespoon of that.
You bring that up to a boil?
So, one of the last things we're gonna be doing here in our kitchen is we're gonna finish off with a noodle bowl. And as Donna wraps up her dish, we kind of want to show you how fast this noodle bowl gets together. So I need to re-bring my water to a boil. And you do not need to constantly stir. Mom's just getting all of those seasonings mixed together.
Yeah.
Really, it's the freshness of the ingredients that are in that particular. I'm looking at the carrots and the different cabbages, and those things come together in that dish and make it have all great flavor. I am going to add a little bit of soy sauce to it, and I've got a different Vietnamese soy sauce that I'm going to add to this one. Regular soy sauce is fine. Again, it adds a bit of this salty umami, amps up that flavor, and look how fast it's already cooking down, Mom.
I see that.
Right?
I'm fast.
You're fast. And it smells good. All right, we're gonna get that in a boil.
You're fast and fabulous, Helen.
Look at that, right, Donna? Donna's looking for bonus points. Donna, are you ready to show us your final dish? And I see Batter's there from Morocco, and we have some guests from around the world. Chanel, who's in Japan. Annie Mawali, so good.
For me to sauce, I'm good to go.
All right, Donna, let's go over and check out as you're wrapping up your dish and see how beautiful. I hope the smell in my kitchen smells as good in yours.
So we're just going to do the final stages. So I did kind of, as Michelle was going on, I did show you, I mixed up the cornstarch in water, so it's really important not to just put the cornstarch in with your sauce while it's boiling. You need to put it in a little bit of cold water and give it a mix. And then we've got this sauce finished now. And you know what? Not everybody likes really saucy stuff. Like, I like sauce, but I don't really like my stuff swimming in sauce. So what we're gonna do today, we're just gonna ladle some over. We've got our cooked pork here, and we're just gonna ladle some over until we've got it. It's nice and shiny. It looks beautiful. So we're gonna keep going there, and I think probably one more. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give it a little stir to make sure all of these are happy and coated in that sauce. So we're just gonna give it a go. And trust me, this is as good as anything you've ever gotten at a takeout before. And also, Michelle's using chicken in her dishes today. Don't be put off by this because it's made by pork. You can use whatever kind of meat you wish. You can even use vegetables. So mixing this up and my finishing touches, I like my food a little bit spicy. So I'm gonna take some chili flakes. I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit here, just to give it a little kick. And honestly, you don't need very many of these, like half a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon. And then at the end, because we eat with our eyes, I always like to put a little garnish on here, just to make it pretty before I serve it. So today we're gonna use some peppers. So I've got some red and orange and yellow peppers on my dish. And that's it. There is our sweet and sour pork ready to go.
So beautiful.
You deliver.
Mom wants to know if you deliver.
Well, it's out of my delivery area.
Wow, Donna. Yeah.
Looks wonderful.
I'm glad. I am really happy. Michelle, like I said, I appreciate the fact that I was invited to cook along with you today. And yours looks fantastic too. Wontons are actually one of my favorite things to eat also. So bring it on. And noodles. So.
Right? And they're just such great combinations. Donna, we're going to wrap up our dishes here. And we just really want to say a big thank you for the extra time that Donna, takes out of her day to be with us here. And just, educating people on food. The health and wellness that comes behind food, all of the good things that go with it. So as we're winding down, we have a lot of things happening behind us. So the egg roll in a bowl is cooking down, and all of those things are getting where we need them to be. But we've just got a couple of minutes. We're boiling some noodles, and these noodles only take 5 minutes. So I'm going to open up this fruit so we can have some of this nice citrus. They come really well packaged because they're coming in from China. So this little net, and then as you'll see here, and they're all washed and ready to go. But we're not going to eat the outside. There we go, Mom. Leave my bowl of cilantro I'm going to be using here out of the way for a second. Here we go. So you see this, Mom, feel how light it is though.
Oh, it is.
I know you kind of wonder is how much will that weigh?
Hardly anything.
Right? So let's have a look
10 ounces.
at how this is going to come. Now like anything, we're going to cut it crosswise so we can see the citrus through the middle. It might be light. It's not easy to cut. Thanks, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Now look at the center of that, right? Remember we talked about that rind is going to be really thick.
Oh, it frees the half an inch.
So it's amazing, right? And I'm going to cut one of these beautiful oranges and look
The difference.
at that difference of the thickness of the skin. Look at that. We'll put on the outside of it. And I know the flavor of these. I cut this. I've had this a few times, but I was recently having it at New Year's, January 1st with some friends. And I have to say they come apart just like regular citrus. But it has the amazing flavor of like a grapefruit, which are a little bit more sour. I know. They're absolutely amazing. So try some of this new citrus. I'm going to be bringing some of this with me today as I travel to Halifax and enjoy a visit with a cousin of mine. So Mom can give that a try. We're going to pull our noodles together. I think those are looking good in the back, Mom, and almost done. We're going to show everybody our
Quite tasty.
egg roll. Wow. This is a mixture, again, that you could put into one of those egg roll wrappers that are mainly made with an egg and flour mixture. But we're going to be using this very much just as a wonderful side dish to enjoy with our meal. So that's pretty much cooked at the consistency that we want it with. I'll get Mom to put that in a bowl. She's going to bring me over my noodles in a second. And I have on more than one episode of Atlantic Canada Cooks I've got my little lucky cat here of how, noodles and fresh ingredients really make recipes easy. So hopefully this is one that you take some time to do in your world. In this bowl, I have put a few pieces of cut up chicken. The chicken had very little seasoning on it, or you could use chicken that has a lot of seasoning. So what I'm doing in here is we're gonna make a fast noodle bowl because everything that's going into it is pretty close to cook. So we've got our chicken, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some wonderful cilantro that I have here that's gonna go on the bottom. I've got some of those wonderful bean sprouts I'm going to put in there. And this is going to be a noodle bowl for one. So we'll put a few more bean sprouts. We've got some of that really nice carrots we're going to add in there. The carrots are for health. They look pretty and they look great. And one of the other things that we like to do when we're doing one like this, I often talk about having your handy kitchen scissors. And what I'm going to do is just put some fairly large pieces of green onion. And this is a bowl for one. So I'm going to put one full green onion in for this dish. And I know Mom's got the noodles ready. The other thing I've got here is I have some fresh lime that I have cut up. So the fresh lime's here. I'm just going to cut a wedge of that lime, because we're going to top our dish off with that nice wedge of lime. So, oh, wow. So I need the pot and the liquid. So Mom has put the noodles out in a bowl so you can see how the noodles are cooked. So we're going to add those noodles in
there, okay.
And we still need some of that broth as we finish this off. So what I'm going to do is, we're not looking for this to be soupy. We're looking for it to have just that really nice consistency. Donna, this is where Michelle should be using her chopsticks. Let's see what we can do here. And now that noodle bowl has all those beautiful ingredients in it. And we're gonna pull that chicken on top. And the heat and a little bit of the broth from the noodles will warm up those other ingredients. You want them to feel, as we say, a little al dente or that little bit raw for that fresh through. So I'm going to top this off with just a very touch of soy sauce across the top. This is how I like it. And not much, just a few drops, because I want to keep the freshness there. And then we've got some of those wonderful toasted sesame seeds. So I'm going to put a few toasted sesame seeds across. I love cilantro, and it looks nice to have the greenery to top that off. And then, like anything, we're going to put that lime wedge. So there you have is a really fast, easy and delicious chicken noodle bowl. Those are rice noodles. The noodles themselves took 5 minutes to cook. And hopefully you can see you can be eating a really fresh, great bowl. And those look like really long noodles, right,
They
Mom?
are.
Come on around here to the side. So that means the longevity from the noodles. So as we wrap up, hold on to that. And did you even taste test our wonderful egg roll in a bowl? Because it looks perfect.
No.
I'm going to take a couple of these and we're going to top that off with a little bit of that again. So we're going to let Mom take a taste test of that. I'm going to grab our last recipe out of the oven so that we can share with you that oven rice. Mom's going to do a live taste testing. We love those.
That's delicious.
You've had it. It's just been a while, right, Mom?
It's been a while, but it's good.
So we're going to be hopeful, and we are. That rice looks amazing. Wow.
Mm.
Woo. I am going to get a spoon. I'm going to bring a bowl of this wonderful fried rice out. I will do this. See? Everything looks perfect.
I wear
in
it well, too.
What's that?
I had picked the piece off my sweater. I always wear it well.
And here we go. Look at the steam. It's still coming off that. Hopefully you can see in there. The rice is obviously went in white. It's got a little bit of a brown coming out because of the seasoning and the different flavors that we put in. And you can see the mushrooms here on the side. And let's just say,
So good.
absolutely amazing. So from our kitchens to yours, we hope that you've enjoyed some of this great Chinese flavors, Asian flavors. Get some more of these dishes into your world. Can we say? From our kitchens.
To yours.
Enjoy the Lunar New Year, and thank you so much for joining us, Donna. Hopefully your kitchen smells great, that you and Doug are going to enjoy those recipes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we will. I wish we were there so we could have a potluck, hey, and combine our dishes. It'd be so good.
Yeah.
I'd love to taste what you made.
Oh, it's so good.
Right, the flavors there.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. So I was just moving a frying pan around on the back. So thank you, YouTube. We really appreciate our Zoom family that comes in to enjoy a bit more interactive experience. We're going to see you next week where we're sharing a little love. And it's Valentine's Day coming up on February 14th. So here in North America, it's a bit of a big deal. And we say, drop by and see your friends at MacArthur's Flower Shop. Smell the roses.
Oh,
Stop.
so good.
Stop and smell the roses, and they will take great care of you. Stop and see a local florist. Pick your favorite music. Buy some flowers. And cook some great food with those favorite people in your life. And share a little love. We will see you next week here at Atlantic Canada Cooks.